Oh, good. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Here.
Councilman Iacilli.
Here.
Councilman Pell.
Here.
Councilman Martell.
Here.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start the meeting today with a presentation update on operations on the Steinbeck House. And with us is Diana Howard, co-president of the Steinbeck Advisory Board, Julie Green, our town historian, and we'll be joined momentarily by Jackie Fenlon, our Community Preservation Fund Director. I know last time, Diana, you made the presentation from the podium. Would you rather sit up here with us?
I was thinking last time I had a PowerPoint and it was too hard to see. The print was too small. So I just, instead of doing that, I just made copies. I thought if you guys don't mind sharing.
If you could give them to me, please, so I could stamp
And we'll
them.
take them here first.
Thank you.
I was going to do more, but then I found out how much color copies cost.
Could you give them all to me? Sorry, Diane, she needs to stamp them all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Records management. Do you have enough for everyone, or?
And I was going to ask them to share.
Okay.
And then I've got my copy.
Just be careful, the staples are a little sharp on the back.
I will share, pass that one down.
That Michael and I can share.
You got enough? Sorry, Christine.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Sandy.
Thanks for the stamp.
We all have one now.
Yes, we all have one.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm happy to answer questions anywhere along the way. The first picture is just a picture of the plaque that we have at the property thanking the town and the state for the funds that you gave us so that we were able to preserve the property. And then the second page is the list of our board members. And Julie's on our board, so that's been great.
Give me a second. I'm just texting Jackie. Okay, sorry. Continue, please.
And our job is really community outreach. As you all probably remember, we partnered with the Michener Center at the University of Texas, and they run the Writers' Retreat. So that's sort of their responsibility, and our responsibility is community outreach. And when we got the funds from the town, we were going to have tours at the property, and then each writer in residence was going to do a community outreach program, and then each year we were going to do a high school writing workshop. So that's what our local board takes care of. And in terms of the tours, they have gone very well. We've had over 1,300 people tour the property since we opened Memorial Day weekend of 2023. So we're just starting our third summer. So I've included some pictures of tours. And with the tours, we have the schedule on our website. We have volunteer docents that lead the tours. On the holiday weekends, we have the Hampton Hopper that picks up the guests right now in front of Barron's Cove and then drops them off at the property and takes them back. And we did that because I'm sure those of you who were on the council then remember we had pretty extensive negotiations with the neighbors because it's such a quiet lane. They didn't want people just sort of streaming down there all the time. And so we have tours on Saturdays just from 12 to 4. And then on the weekends, the busier holiday weekends, we have the Hopper. And I was telling Councilman Martell beforehand, we had a cocktail party at the house last Friday to thank the neighbors, and a number of the neighbors came. And I think it was good sort of outreach. We really haven't had any complaints from the neighbors.
That was a nice idea.
Yeah. That was John Avalon's a co-president, and he lives very close. And then one of the other neighbors suggested it, and it worked out really well. And we were able to have our docents there too because
I missed it.
Well,
I docent there too. I help give tours and stuff because it's such a special property in the town. So I was away nationally.
Ah, too bad.
Yeah. But the thing about docenting is, I think it's really enjoyable, but it's solitary. thing, I mean, you just lead a tour group, and so by sort of including the docents, we're trying to build a sense of community among the docents also.
Yeah, so the tours are, so it's available for viewing every Saturday, but only the exterior, and then to go inside the house, it's 3 or 4 weekends a year?
It's Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, and Columbus Day weekend. And it's just about every Saturday. In the summer, it's 2 Saturdays a month, 2 Saturdays, November, December, every Saturday.
And that schedule change, actually, there's a schedule change last year that was made, right? If I'm
We
Memory
talked
serves me
about
right?
it.
Yeah.
I don't think, it never got.
never, okay.
So we continued to be open. I mean, one thing we'd asked about was the possibility of being open just 2 Saturdays a month, January, February, March, because it's harder to get docents when it's cold, and we really don't have many visitors. The visitors don't really start to pick up till April or May. And so it would, and then one thing we did last spring, which I think worked well, was because there wasn't a writer there over President's Day weekend, we opened the house that Saturday, so not the whole weekend. And we had a lot of visitors on that President's Day weekend, but it's, you know, it's cold for the visitors in the
Yeah.
winter too. So that's one thing that we would like to ask the council about, is allowing us to be open just 2 Saturdays a month, January, February, and March.
That sounds reasonable. Jared joining us, Jackie Fenlon, Dan McCormick, thank you for coming.
everyone.
Morning.
And then I just have a sheet about the tour attendance too. So as I said, we've had only over 1,300 visitors since we opened. And it was interesting, this was our best Memorial Day weekend. The first Memorial Day weekend, we had 140 visitors. The 2024, we had 118, and this weekend we had 143 visitors come through last weekend. So I think part of it is we're learning how to get the word out. In the beginning, we would just take out print ads in the local newspapers, and then we realized we needed to go online too. So now for those weekends, we're doing the 27 East, and then we pay to be in like the weekend calendar update thing, and we're posting on Nextdoor, and it seems like we're getting many more people from the online than we did from the print ad. I also think the longer we're here, more people know about it, and then they tell their friends. One of our newest docents has a daughter in school in Sag Harbor who's in 5th grade, and she said she was talking to the parents of her daughter's friends and sort of spreading the word. So I think the longer we're here, we get the word spread. This was just interesting, I thought. After the holiday weekend, one of the visitors who goes by like Southampton Daily or something, I mean, he did this great reel, I'm trying to use the right words, reel on Instagram and Facebook, and it just sort of showed up, but it was just fun to see how much the visitors enjoyed the property over the weekend.
And then he tagged so you could see.
So yeah.
Which is great.
And then I don't expect you to read this whole letter now, but this was an email that I received from a visitor. Actually, it was a tour that I led over the weekend, but just talking about how much the tour and the property resonated with him. And now he just started reading Cannery Row and how much more it meant having been on the property. So I just included it sort of as an example of kind of the power or the impact that touring the property has.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Obviously, I've toured it, did the inspection deck, and I've been out there as well as Julie numerous times. I had one inquiry. The second floor where that wonderful submarine stairwell goes up to the bedroom area. Is that the spiral? Is that available to the public at this point, or is that still closed off?
We were just sort of nervous about letting people go up there. So we haven't let people go up there. I mean, I guess we could, but it just kind of makes me nervous.
And I understand your concern.
There's like a
as an attorney, I
bedroom
understand
loft
that
area.
concern as well. So, right, it's a second-story area where the Starmek family had at least one, if not 2 beds in that area with bookshelves surrounding it. It's a beautiful spot. But that stairwell, I understand, is a little
not a full
challenging.
headspace upstairs.
I mean, no matter when you go, like, to even historical sites, there are places that have a chain across them that you can't enter, so.
Understood.
And you can see it, and we do point, and Julie knows this too because she leads tours, we do point out that that's where his children stayed, and, you know, you can look up at
We have photographs that or in a binder to show people what
Yeah.
it looks like upstairs. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause it is, you know, the only other place that's tougher is the BB windmill to get up. So, yeah.
It is. It's a narrow spiral staircase. Yeah.
The other question I had is on the pool. What is the status of that?
It is still covered. We're trying to raise funds. So, I mean, what we would love to do is turn it into a very shallow water feature, keeping the shape. And because it's a white cement, almost amoeba shaped, and it's one of the first, if not the, Julie might know better than I, but one of the first in-ground pools.
In the area, yeah.
But again, we've been worried about keeping it uncovered with people
Safety and
going
maintenance, yeah.
through. Alex Rachel, who is on our board, whose family has Rachel Lynch Pools, has done a proposal, and it'd be somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 to do that work, and that's with them donating a lot. I mean, that would be mainly we'd be paying the people who worked there, but they were donating a lot of the supplies. So that's kind of in our list of as we fundraise.
Things to do.
Things to do.
Great, and my last question is on the view shed from the area of the roadway to the gazebo, right? That gazebo is spectacular. To me, it's probably the most important connection to the property because that's where Mr. Steinbeck did much of his writing. And in the original easement, the town board wanted to maintain that view shed from the public area. So even if you didn't have access to the grounds, you could literally stand on the roadway and look at the area where Mr. Steinbeck actually did his writing. Is that still obviously being maintained or at least
it's
honored?
Unimpeded.
You can't see it from the road. You can see it from the driveway.
Right, but that driveway is technically still part of the roadway up to where that garage area is.
I don't know.
You know what? I need to make a note because probably what I should do is talk to the person who does the trimming, and I can get that
To
trimmed.
trim down, yeah. I think it's been done a little bit, right?
Yeah,
It's been.
and it may have like grown back up, so I can.
That
trim
was like
that.
an important component. We were just thinking like that people could stay in the road or driveway area and just peek when it's completely closed.
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
winter. Yeah, especially.
Thank you so much.
I'll get that done.
Yeah.
And the next page is just an example of our record keeping because we try and keep track of how many people came when, so we know when more popular times are, how it's being used. The next sheet just lists how we advertise for our tours, which are really we're talking about. But we do have some palm cards that we had printed that we have left around town.
What did you say? It's Memorial Day, the 4th of July?
Not 4th
Oh,
of July.
Labor
Memorial
Day?
Labor Day, Columbus Day. The reason we don't have two reasons we don't have 4th of July. One is with the writers' retreat, I might backtrack a little bit. The University of Texas right now has a fall writer who's always alum of the Michener Center, who's more in the beginning of his or her career, and then a summer writer who is sort of at the peak of his or her career and they extend an invitation to. We really tried to have the weekends not coincide with when the summer writer was there. So the summer writer this summer will come June 15th. So we get over Memorial Day and then they leave before Labor Day. And then I think the other thought by adding Columbus Day is that's maybe a 3-day weekend when more people who live locally, whose business might be seasonal, might be more able to go than 4th of July. So kind of that's why those weekends were picked. So we have 19 active docents, 4 that are going to be trained in June. And to train them, they have to attend a tour, and then they attend a training session, and then they have to lead a tour with a docent following them just to make sure that they know.
Is Tommy John a docent?
He has been. It might
Yes.
surprise you to know he hasn't been quite as active since he's been going back and forth to Albany. But he is a docent.
On the Saturdays, though, that aren't the holiday weekends, there's not anyone there to guide a tour, right?
Every time, because we never have anyone on the property without having
Oh, that's good to know.
a tour guide. So we have tour guides all the time.
Okay.
Well, and that's one reason why, we're talking about if we're able to be open only 2 Saturdays a month, January, February, March, it's hard to get docents to go out there for 2-hour stretches those times also. And some of our docents present company excluded, skew even older. And so, there's not a lot of people who are in their 70s who want to go stand out there in February. So
You get
Yeah.
the same tour if you don't go in the house as if you were in the house. The house is explained, described, photographs are shown. So if you can't make it on a weekend, a holiday weekend that it's open, you do get the full tour. Just not being inside the house.
Yeah, you don't get to go inside the
Yeah,
house.
but the house is talked about. And all that.
when the house was renovated in 2015. And so what I tell people is it's great to come when the house is open, but you don't miss a lot, especially with all the photographs we have of the house. And then I have a list of our writers in residence, starting with summer of 2023, and then
Fargo.
what?
Fargo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Noah Hawley, yeah.
Yes, and so Noah's going to be here this summer. Noah Hawley, he's going to be here from the 15th of June to the 15th of August. He's won an Emmy, a Writers Guild, a PEN Critics' Choice, Peabody Awards, and screenwriter for Fargo, Legion, and then Alien Earth is going to premiere, I think, mid-August.
Wow.
So,
It's pretty cool
Yeah.
to tell them about it when he's coming.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So his community event is going to be June 24th at the Sag Harbor Cinema, and we are going to screen the first episode of the second season of Fargo, and then his talk is going to be taking it from the script that he wrote then to what happened on the screen. So we've reserved the theater 2 at the cinema, so I think it'll be really interesting. And my thought is it might appeal also to a different demographic than when Hernan Diaz was here last summer, and he was great, and he just won a Pulitzer. But I think UT is doing a good job of picking people from different genres, and that may.
How do you get the tickets to go there?
You can talk to me, and I can get you. They're free, like all our community engagement events, because of the CPF funds that we got are free. They'll go up on the cinema website in the next week or so. They're just kind of finishing some of their verbiage for how you get the tickets. But I was going to say, they've told me that I can reserve some seats. So if anyone here is interested in going, if you just let me know, I can make sure that we've got some seats reserved.
Thank you.
And right now, our plan is to have a reception on the second floor of the theater afterwards.
nice.
Very nice.
One nice thing about having a screenwriter who has been very successful is we talked about a reception, and we told him we couldn't pay for it because we don't have any money. And so his production company is paying for the reception. So that would be. And then this was the second year of our high school writing workshop. And because we had students from 6 schools come, so there were too many to actually do the workshop itself at the house. So what we've done is we start with a tour of the house, and then we go to the library, and that's because there's more place to work there. And so here are the schools that have come this year. And most of these schools, the Ross School was new this year. I think all the rest of the schools were there last year, and we're still trying to we weren't able to get Southampton High School or Bridgehampton. I mean, we reached out a lot, but the ones who've come have really enjoyed it, I think.
What's it entail?
So it starts with like a 1-hour tour of the house, and then the Hampton Hopper, who's been very nice to us, donates a ride for the students from the house to the library. And then it's about a 3 or 4 hour workshop at the library. So the first year it was taught by Anthony Johnson, who's the head of the Michener Center. He flew up to do it. This year it was going to be taught by Susie Merrill, who's on our board, who also works at Stony Brook and is really active there. She had a horrible fall, though, like 2 days before. So we had Chris McLean, who teaches at Stony Brook also. He was the one who led it, and he was great because he jumped in with like 2 days' notice after Susie's accident. So, but I think that it's been it's been really fun for the
Diane,
students.
may I ask, all the schools attend the same day?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's just one day
Just one day,
a year?
a year.
I think the 24th is a Tuesday,
Yes, it is. It's a
town board meeting.
town board meeting.
Can't go.
I know.
Oh,
How do the
don't
how do the students get selected to participate?
they're schools. So we have reached out to the schools and then told them about the opportunity, and then the schools select them. So I know that at least some of the schools, I think this year focused more on perhaps sophomores or juniors, thinking that because of the time of the year, also the students who came, it would allow them to put it on their college applications that they were selected to go. And we've talked about trying to move it to the fall. It's been the spring the last 2 years, but our thought is if we're able to find a date in the fall that works, then even if you were a senior, you could have it on your college application.
And so these are 2 students per each school?
For each school.
Oh, just two?
Yeah.
And then one of the other things that we were asked to do when we got the CPF funds was to have the property designated as a historic
Yes, landmark.
landmark.
Mhm.
So it has, the Village of Sag Harbor has done that, and June 11th is our hearing before the Historic Art Preservation Office for state and national designation. And Julie has helped us get a letter for Supervisor Moore to sign, and I think Julie was going to sign it. And I just got the draft of the letter that the Village of Sag Harbor has written to support it also. So anyway, hopefully they'll vote yes.
Where is that hearing?
Probably in Albany,
Yeah,
or
that's what I was thinking.
Saratoga Springs, I think they're located. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But, yeah. They're just, everything's gone to the National Park Service, because the state and national landmarking run hand in hand. So everything gets sent to the National Park Service. They make the determination, and then it comes back to the state. So that'll all happen in a couple of weeks.
Keep us apprised of the.
I will. I
status of
actually spoke to them yesterday about all of it. So
that. Great.
I think it's a,
So it's gonna happen.
it's just a, But, and that will allow funding for the foundation to go for funding that the state offers for historic preservation. Yeah.
They visited, I do know they did a site
That's
visit
right.
about a month or so ago to look at the property.
Yeah, he thought it was great. And of course, the writing pavilion they were in awe of that. That Steinbeck actually built it, and rode in it is just, not many places like that.
Very special.
And it's still in pretty good shape. I mean, I haven't been there in
No,
a year or so.
it's even better now that there are
Yeah.
people on the property. You
great.
just need that human touch. So
Well, and one thing that the University of Texas has done also, in addition to running the writers program, they have hired a property manager. So they have someone there who looks out after the property. This fall, they hired Jackson Dodds and they trimmed all the trees. There were a lot of kind of dead limbs. And again, in terms of liability, I was worried about some of those limbs and the tree in front of the front door. So anyway, it's been good. And then the last thing is we have been awarded 2 grants by the town, one for the living shoreline, one for the nitrogen reducing biofilter. We've had Chris Kelly at Toomey Latham looked at the living shoreline contract. An issue is just because we don't have money. The reimbursement grant is a little hard. And so he had some comments to that we've sent back, and we're just waiting to hear. And our thought is if those comments were accepted, then we might try and make the same comments on the nitrogen reducing biofilter one to have payment go directly to the subs. So that's just sort of in process right now.
Do we have any water quality funding coming into that, or?
They're both water quality projects.
Right.
Yeah. So one is for the IA system, and then one is for the engineering for the living shore. I forget how much each one of those was.
The living shoreline was about $14,000,
Yeah.
and the biospheric one was about $60,000, I
Yep.
think.
And you're just waiting for the reimbursement.
We're waiting for comments on the contract.
They're in the contract phase.
Okay.
So,
Good to know.
but I'm happy to answer any other questions anyone might have.
Did you discuss the one parking space?
No, we didn't discuss that.
So one of the requirements was for 7 parking spaces, but they were just requesting to reduce it by 1, which I think is appropriate. To have 6 pieces, you know, part of the public hearing components where we heard from concerned citizens that we want to keep this residential in character and low key, and they said they've been really doing well, with just kind of the existing parking configuration. So that's one other thing. So 7 had been, I think, required, but I'm fine with, you know, minimizing that to 6.
But why? Did someone complain, or why do you want to reduce it from 7 to 6?
It's currently 6.
Oh,
And they'd have to do
They'd have to
major,
do more improvements and kind of change the feel of the driveway and the design configuration.
and that's
if they
what
were
the
gonna go to
board
7.
had originally required.
And right now, I mean, the way it is now, we haven't ever had an issue because we have people park a couple, if it's a full tour, they park not on Bluff Point Lane or Bluff Point Road, and they walk down. If it's not a full tour, and especially in the winter when it's not full, I typically just text the people who are coming on the Friday before and say, ignore the instructions you've got, you can just park at the property, because there's room for at least 3 or 4 cars in the current driveway. When we were trying to figure out how to get 7 on there, or it was going to be difficult, and it was going to change maybe the look from the front, and some of the neighbors weren't happy with some of the plans we'd come up with to try and get the additional spaces. But I mean, I would say even the way it is now, we've never had an issue. And the other thing we say is, if you have mobility issues, just text us and you can come park at the property. And what we have now has worked just fine.
What did you mean with 3 or 4? You said if people wanted to come and park there, there's room for 3 or 4, but not
Cars.
6?
Not the way it is now.
one's in the garage, right?
Yeah, we've got 2 spaces in the garage, and then we could get at least 3 easily on the driveway. If we go to 6, we'll probably add a space, but inside the hedges. If we had to do 7, it would be difficult because we'd have to maybe do something on the road, and that the neighbors were not very excited about.
I mean, I'm fine with this. We've gotten through this many years without it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Would we need a resolution, though, to amend the prior?
Well, that's the thing. So some of the amendments that they're asking for, I think now that they've been in operations for a couple of years, they're just understanding, and there's some tweaks that they are requesting for the public access
like
agreement.
the changing the 2 date to 2 Saturdays, and
The 2 Saturdays, the parking, yeah. Most of it, though, is, you know, going well and functioning well as is, but we wanted to kind of have an update for the board. But Maria, this was just kind of like a rough sketch of some of the plans that we looked at, but I don't know if you have a more recent one.
I don't. I can
Yeah.
get you one.
Yeah, that's fine. But so, like, we were looking at it, and I think one of the things was we don't want to make the streetscape look different. So if we were going to provide more on the road, you would have to cut into the hedges, and it's a very private community. You know, it's like a very, like, you know, very simple roadway that almost looks like a driveway. So we don't want to make it look like, you know, commercial, you know, and like a large parking lot. And then even if they were to go to 7, I think when I was speaking with Diane, it was like they were going to have to cut down some trees. And right now it kind of is almost like a, you know, like a residential driveway. And I think as long as they can provide the ADA space and 6 spaces, with 2 being in the garage, it functions well. And most of the people are shuttled to the property.
On the
for
holiday
the main,
weekends.
For the main holiday events.
And even if people drive, often people come together. You know, so it's not like we need a space for everyone who would be there anyway. They often sign up in groups.
So there's already an authorized use agreement in place that you're asking to have it amended?
Asked you when you were asking about some of the particulars. That's the existing public access easement. So it does have the 7 parking spaces. So some of it would have to be changed to accommodate, you know, the real life logistics that they've encountered. And
I mean, you
Which
think
we
that you don't see any issue with that, right? You're fine with all of that. So I mean, I think if that's the case,
we actually include language in that agreement that we would go through a trial period to determine
perfect.
what, if any, other needs were needed based on actual use and operation of the property. So it was contemplated that there would be additional changes at some particular point. And we're at the roughly two-year juncture at this point, so this is the perfect time to do that. That schedule, as an exhibit, was added to the easements when they were originally filed to ensure that there would be maximum public access. And at this juncture, may I ask, right, so as you know, the town board at the time was very concerned about public access since CPF funding was being utilized here. As a ballpark number, right, from March of 23 now to here we are almost in June of 25, how many people would you say have actually utilized the property, from the high school students to those who just wanted to come and tour the property? Just a ballpark, roughly.
You mean like total?
Yes,
It's
total.
over 1,300. I didn't count the high school students in there, so there's another, I'd say 1,350 about. That's probably about right. We had 691 visitors in 2023. We had 511 visitors in 2024. I didn't count the high school students in that.
And
And
then
then-
all the people that go to the events that are
Oh,
held
that's
by the-
true. I
yeah.
mean, with the events, because we've had each of the fall writers has given free workshops. So we've had
The writer
2 writing
workshop.
workshops with those. Then we've had the big Hernan Diaz event, and then I think the Noah Hawley. So I'd say, it could be close to 1,400 if I added all those in.
Easily,
And
The
I'd like to
outreach
commend
is
you.
great.
I would like to commend you because I actually had a family member, and one of the concerns by the town board and CPF was ease of reservations, right? Because it's one thing to have the property available. You want to make sure, though, that the public has easy access and reserve. And I can tell you, I want to commend you. Your online system has worked beautifully. I had a relative who utilized it, was able to go out, enjoy the property, and he raved about it. So I commend you guys because you honored the agreement. You went beyond the call of duty, making sure that was very easy. And I just wanted to relay that to the town board as we look at the property.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure it was accessible and, people could easily get online and understand when they could go. That was just very important. So I think that they've done an excellent job, but that was a very, important aspect of making sure that the website was functioning and you could get a reservation online and understand when you get access to it. And that was brought up by the public as well, rightfully so.
But like everything out here during summer and holiday weekends, it's, busy, so it worked out. Yeah.
And
It got filled up.
To Marie's point, I do think we might need a resolution authorizing the amendment to the public access agreement because some of these, changes that they're requesting are memorialized in this existing public access agreement. So,
And
but
that's
we
substantive.
can work with them and then present it to you guys to make sure you're comfortable and
That's
then put on a town.
Yeah, if you just mark it, redline what the changes are. So maybe it's more than just the 2 that you mentioned, or
Yeah, I
maybe
was
it's
making
just
kind of
those
some
2.
notes in the areas.
I don't understand this part about it's 10 slots by car or other vehicle and 10 by boat. So but what if nobody's signed up to come by boat? Can you increase the number by car?
We have never, we
The village was gonna do a boat.
Yeah, that option fell
We
through
sort
pretty
of
quick.
made clear that we were not providing a boat.
Yeah.
That if a boat sort of appeared and someone else was running it, they could come.
Yeah.
But we were only going to be by car or by foot.
So you're basically limiting it to 10 people per
10
tour?
people per hour. And I'll tell you, that's a good number because the van has, the hopper will hold like 12 people. So on the holiday weekends, we got a call from Barron's Cove. There were a couple guests. I said, okay, you can put them on the hopper. Maybe we didn't have as many last hour. But once you get above 10, it's kind of hard to keep the group together as you're giving the tour. And then it's difficult because you're out in the open. I think to give a good tour if you have many more than 10 people on
And there was also, I believe there was also concerns about like boat utilizing the liability of the dock and
Yeah, but Maria, just so you know, there was a vision from the previous supervisor, Supervisor Schneiderman, who was thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go to Steinbeck Park and have like a little like, ferry or
Ferry.
boat access to take you from Steinbeck Park in Sag Harbor Village and then take you to the property. So that was like a vision, and that can happen, but
I
they
think that
were
was
concerned
also-
with the liability.
It's up
and
to
just
Sag Harbor to
free-
provide the boat.
Yeah,
right?
I think too, that was a conversation between the former supervisor and the former mayor, so they're neither one are here, so.
And we don't have the money.
Has anyone approached you to come privately by boat?
People have approached us, not for a tour, but, and we've just, and again, I mean, I'm a former attorney too, so I get very nervous. It was like, no on the spiral staircase, no on the dock, no on the pool until it's a water feature. I'm worried, and we have double insurance out there. I mean, UT has its policy, we have our policy, but still, I worry about that.
Yeah. The dock is a nice feature, but obviously with the public, coming in by boat, there's a lot of liability and insurance
Sure is.
concerns. So that was understandable.
That was a concern, because I was on the board at the time, that not enough people would visit, there wouldn't be enough access, it was just another option. But I think we've proven that plenty of people are coming, it's a viable location, and everything's going well, so I want to thank you for that. And thank you for everything that you guys do on that. It seems to be a hit. I'm just going to encourage you to increase the high school ability to come to a workshop, maybe do a spring and fall.
We can talk about that with the board, especially with what we might be able to work out is maybe Brett could teach one, and then like Susie Merrill from Stony Brook was all set to teach until the accident. Maybe we could do where we have different instructors so that we're not asking too much of any one person.
Yeah, who's running the workshops? Who's teaching the students for all those hours?
So the first year it was the head of the Michener Center, and then this year it was a professor from Stony Brook. And so if we tried to do one each semester, maybe we could do something like that where we. And
the parking places, just to go back a little bit, we didn't know where we were going to put 7 parking places. I think it would come along as we did the landscaping, tidy things up to see if we could actually do it. If we got a really large turnout, we would have to do it. But I think with the numbers you're getting, 6 would be fine.
I think it would be fun.
And just for the board's edification, for the new members to the board who were not here at the time, the connection to the University of Texas, I believe, involves Mrs. Steinbeck, correct? That was the original connection.
She went
The mission.
there, and then the University of Texas has a big humanities research center that already had some of Steinbeck's papers there. And then the heirs who were selling it went to UT, and that made it an easier to get the whole deal done. The other thing is they said that they had the money, and that helped.
Stony Brook
because-
really didn't. Like, we went to Stony Brook and they just really didn't have the financial ability to.
But very interesting, the new Dean of Arts and Sciences at Stony Brook is a Steinbeck scholar, and he's coming to visit the property, I think Friday the 6th. I'm going to give him a tour of the property. And so Susie Merrill, again, on our board, who knows him and is, I guess, her position is under that dean, set that up because we thought it would be nice to be able to have a relationship with the new dean there.
Yeah.
So he'll be out in a week.
Well, I certainly enjoyed my tour last year, and I encourage everyone to go and experience it. Thank you for all you do, and we'll just wait for the changes to come in from Jackie and Dan, and I'm sure the board will support that and
Yes.
amend the agreement.
So some minor
Come down and
tweaks.
visit
We
too.
can work with you on the
That'd be
exact
great.
language, and then we'll present it to you guys.
Perfect.
Okay.
And thank you all very much. Without
Thank you.
the CPF funds, this never would have happened, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
We're so pleased to be able to preserve some history.
Diana, do you have that extra, or can you email me?
You can
that?
want mine, or I can,
Yeah, could you email?
You want these back?
You put it
You
in.
want, you want to save these?
come on, you guys aren't gonna take them home and like.
Can you sign them for us?
And I'll let you know about the
Thank you.
landmarking on the 11th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If If you're not gonna use it, I'll take it.
Thank
I
you.
was gonna take a show of my wife. No,
Yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering if doctors come to school when you read,
See you in a little bit, you two. All right, so our next topic is the licensing code amendments. So with us is Janice Shear, Town Planning and Development Administrator, and Sean Cambridge, Assistant Town Attorney. Good morning.
Sean, I would say thank you for coming to Hampton Bays and speaking very well about the problems, and just trying to solve the problems there.
So what's this about? I remember we did this already.
You did this already. This is really just some housekeeping, small language changes. So we've been implementing this new way of doing licensing. Just as a reminder, previously, everyone who applied for a license in the town, a home improvement contractor license, had to go before a licensing review board before we would give them their license. And it was a very long, drawn-out process. And we've shortened that process and made it very simplified so that people can just, as long as they give us all of their documentation and as long as they're in good standing as far as their corporate certificates and that they've not had any, complaints or problems, and there's a bunch of things. We've already enacted 17 different reasons why they should be denied. And as long as they don't have any of those reasons, they get their license and they go and they're happy.
We're still calling it a license.
It is it's a home improvement contractor license. The two things we eliminated were for the professional state certifications of an electrical contractor and a plumber. So those things are out of that code now, and we added some other ones just to make it more clear that those things are defined, things about repair, remodeling, so people can trust that someone who gives them a quote or business, that they're a legitimate company and that they're engaged in this, and they have to do that. Any contract over, anything over $500, actually, according to this law, requires a contract.
Right,
So-
and the state law.
And the state law.
Yeah.
So this mirrors
is
all of that.
administrative now, no, though, right? We don't need a board to review all the
The
applications.
only thing now the difference is that, so there is no longer a license review board.
Mhm.
Now appeals, so if someone does get denied, or there is a complaint, they go to the Public Safety Commission, the board that deals with like alarms and that sort of thing. So they look at it. Some of this language that we're asking to change is just administrative related to, and we can go through each by each, but it just broadly is related to who handles that board, because it's two different departments working with a board. And so it's just to make like the sort of roles and responsibilities very clear, because most of this says land management administrator or designee, and that means that I can direct my staff in the building department to issue the letters, to send the notices, to do the thing. I can't direct people in other departments to do things, so it causes a bit of a disconnect. And so I would like to make it clear in the law who sends out those notices, and it's us, and we're happy to do it. It's just that it became a gray area a little bit because two different departments were handling.
Yeah, and the
two
name
different-
itself is confusing with our public safety department, right?
Yes,
the
and
public safety
actually our
board.
public safety administrator has nothing to do with that board.
Yeah, so
And this is really
you
just,
change the name of the board.
yeah, I mean, we've been living with this code for a year now, and these are things that have come up over the course of a year, and we had some things, and then we kind of waited a little bit to make sure that, there were other issues that needed to be hammered out. We wanted to make sure the processes were good before we went and changed the code, and then there's some other code changes in here that will allow us to, in the future, make minor changes without having to rewrite the code.
That's true. Like right now we issue stickers, but like in another section we say, or other approved method. So if we come up with something better, like a QR code, or, it just is another approved method.
Mhm.
We don't have to rewrite the code. So it's mostly housekeeping.
Yeah, I
if
would
you wanna
say it's kind of the growing pains of, this has been a 2-year process now. We're the second year into it, and of course, we're going to have some tweaks and things.
Of course,
that
I
need
think
to-
it makes perfect sense. Come on in and talk about, after you live, like Cindy said, you live with it for a while and then you realize, well, wait a minute, we can make this a little bit.
Right, we had a
more
couple of
efficient.
circumstances where someone came and they said, well, I didn't get the notice, and I didn't, and it's like, well, who was supposed to send it?
Oh, yeah.
So it's better to just have it really written out in the code so we all know who's doing what, when, and where, and then an applicant even knows what's gonna happen. So that's.
And then
just
another major
important.
change is allowing them to not go to full revocation to be able to suspend.
Yeah,
do you wanna
go over
Yeah, are they marked on which,
You'll
what the
see the
changes are?
underlined, yep, so the underlining begins on page 3
Very good, okay.
at the bottom. Just talking about instead of the set fee, just
That
set
makes sense,
annually,
yeah.
you know, so some of this was just like some cleanup
So when do we set the fee?
in our
By the fee
budget
schedule.
and by our fee
Yearly.
schedule, so you'll be seeing that in our budget in July.
And that's just consistent with the rest of the land management permits.
And that makes sense. You don't want to have to have a public hearing just to change the
Just to
fee.
keep changing, and you know, the fees come annually with our operating budgets, and then you vote on it and it goes through for that next January.
Fair enough.
And then it just says licenses may be renewed annually unless the issued license has been expired or dormant for a period of 2 years. So it's not a renewal then, it's a new start over. So that seemed
Well,
fair.
why, what's the difference? Is a renewal less costly than an initial?
Yeah, and plus then renewals, you don't have to give us all this documentation. You
Is
know,
that
but
somewhere
it's been
in here?
dormant for a couple of years. We kind of
Yeah.
want that
We want
start
an
over.
updated packet.
Yeah, we want to know what's going on, and you know that packet shows if you've been convicted of things things that are important to know of these 17 different things.
Is it, sorry, is there somewhere that where it says that a renewal is a separate fee and that
Yes, in the fee
less
schedule.
documentation is required? Like what's required for a renewal?
Application requirements talks about licenses or renewals that they have to do an application and fees.
So I think we're setting the framework to do an in violation fee and a fee schedule, which is consistent with building permits, rental permits, all that type of thing.
I was just talking about this part where you say, where you talk about, you know, it can be renewed annually.
It's just sort of like the time frame. If it's a year, and then they can renew it. But if it's over a year, it's a late fee.
I mean, the
And
significance.
then if it's dormant, like you haven't, and people just renew indefinitely. They keep renewing but if they haven't done anything for a period of 2 years, it's new. So in the fee schedule, it says renewal or new, but looking at the application requirements, it's not that much.
Where is that? Oh, yeah. So would you,
143.7, it
would you
says.
want to add something renewal? This is what's required? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want you
I
to
think that's a
do
good
it.
point. I'm saying
I
that
think the
it's
intent
almost
here
the
was
same.
to capture businesses doing business in the state of New York have to register with the Secretary of State every 2 years. So we don't want to have somebody have an expired corp with the Secretary of State and get a renewal on a license here. So it's building in that time frame to make them do a new application and make sure they're current with the state.
Yeah, I get that.
I understand what
But
you're saying.
if you're renewing it because it's less than a year's gone by, what do you have to submit versus what do you have to submit for the new one? Or maybe that's somewhere else, you don't have to actually list it. It just, when you said it, it made me think, oh, what has to be
No, that's a
submitted
good
on a
point.
renewal?
Let me
Say a little
note
blurb about
that. I
that.
think that's a good point. It's not clear. So while we're here, I mean, it's a good thing
Yeah,
to
while we're
delve
doing
in
it.
here and tinker around, make sure it's all good. So again, that next thing in B, again, you'll see a fee that then just says set annually. Moving over to page 5, you'll see on the bottom, it's again referring to licensing review board, which is no more. So we just cross that out and just call it licensing procedures. Oh, I'm sorry, up above, there was a section, I think this was just a Scrivener thing from before, but it was, it said applications to set forth the following, but it had no letter.
Yeah, we're just looking to capture trade names.
Yeah.
People often will file DBA certificates and say, well, I have a license. And the homeowner has hired, corporation X and they're registered as corporation Y.
Right.
So we just want to have them disclose any kind of alias they're
What
operating.
page are you on?
So this is
5.
5. What
Oh.
I'm saying, D becomes applications that shall set forth the following information. You see that it's sort of hanging out there between C and D was a no letter. That's just, so we just encapsulated that into D. And then E became,
They all just
This-
shifted.
entity name thing.
I'm sorry, I must have been doing something when you moved on, but at the bottom of page 4 where it says license number and any other proof of license, would it be or? And what other kind of proof of license would there be besides the license number? Is that something you're saying it has to be displayed? I remember there
Whatever
was
we
talk about
decide
in the
what-
vehicles or
Again,
not in the
like we
vehicles?
we right now, because before we got the sticker machine, we were giving them these colored paper that they put in their
Dashboard.
dashboard, you know, so any other proof of
I remember
license
that.
means like sort of like how
Whatever we give you.
whatever we give them, but without being too specific because it may be
Might wanna
different.
change it, right?
So at the job site, not on the vehicles that are present at the site? Wasn't there something about the vehicles?
There's more to, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so-
I'm sorry. So now we're just talking about the entity that Sean was
D.
talking about, D. And then just changing those letters. D has 3 subsets, 1, 2, and 3. Those are just renumbering. These were letters and now they're numbers. But they all fall under applications shall set forth the following information.
Oh, so you just changed the
Change
the same.
Yeah, the numbering. Then at the bottom, like I said, we just crossed out licensing review board and just called it licensing procedures. 143.9. You know, it just again, this is a remnant. This is not the board. This is the building department under my, you know, as long as they follow it, we issue the license accordingly, unless the applicant is found to be unfit. So that instead of it finds, which was referring to a board that doesn't exist anymore. 143.10. This is about notice confusion. I was saying sometimes people, you know, we email it, they didn't give us the right email. We may be just mailing them a printed copy. It just kind of gives us that ability to do both.
Are there any explanations on what considerations are being made by the building department to determine whether
Yeah.
it is unfit?
Absolutely. It gives it in application procedures.
Okay.
Requirements.
Okay.
So as long as they're in good standing, they gave us all their information, everything checks out, then we issue them a license. It says here, these complaints then get taken up, but if they're unresolved, I think we would just end up denying them. If we found an unresolved complaint, we'd probably deny them the new license and they'd have to go to the
One of
appeal.
the common grounds is failure to disclose. So if you fail to answer any part of the application, things like if you've been convicted of a crime, if you have ever held a license before, you know, that's one of the more common ones we'll come across. People will just say no, and they've had, you know, a license that was revoked 5 years ago. That's a ground for denial.
And there's an appeal process for that denial?
That'll go to the Public Safety Commission.
Right, so then you see this next section, we really didn't change much, but just the last part of 143.10 says a resolution shall be adopted by the Public Safety Commission and a letter sent by land management. This was like, they took an action, nobody knew it, whatever, something, you know, it was confusion. So I just want to make sure, like, in minute track, there's a resolution, it gets adopted, we send it, you know, it's just spelled out.
That's if there's a denial and an appeal.
If the appeal, whatever decision the Public Safety Commission comes to, has to be recorded as a resolution.
We had
So
a little
someone can do
clumsiness
an
in
Article
how they were
78 on us.
issuing determinations. So sometimes they say, well, we'll just issue a verbal, and it's like, no, we don't want a verbal determination. We
Yeah.
want a written determination. We'll probably come up with some form letters for the board to use.
We just can check it off and then and now it's called eScribe, but in Minute Track, it used to be, you know, drop-down menu where you could say approved, approved with conditions, denied, whatever.
Could I just ask what prompted this? I know this has been looked at for a while. Was it just simply the fact that we dissolved the licensing review board, or was that really the main impetus here?
Yes, because now you have another board that's not accustomed. We do have, I think, a member from licensing review on Public Safety Commission, but we don't have the same structure in place. So we want to be clear about that.
And in all fairness, sometimes that structure was going outside of the bounds of what we wanted it to. We had members like showing up at sites and saying they were doing investigations. And, all sorts of things going on like that, where we don't want that.
Right.
So this group is very motivated. They've asked for kind of a guideline to Robert's Rules for Meetings. They all want to be very orderly, and this is a request they made. They want forms made. They want
Right.
they want an order of who's the mover, who's the
That makes
seconder,
sense.
who's and just an easy way. It also eliminates the lag time between. So usually they'll make a determination, and then we have to write it up, and then they order it on the next meeting. This way, there's a checkbox. The chair or a different board member will say, I move to suspend. Do I have a second? And they've already filled out their determination. And then that license holder and the complainant both get that written determination right then and there. And that's significant because realistically, this is an area of law that many, many people are practicing. It's construction litigation. They're going to the Supreme Court now and saying, hey, this contractor's license was suspended, or this person was admonished on the record by the Public Safety Commission, the licensing authority. So these papers are important, and they fit into timelines that we're not generally aware of, but that are occurring simultaneously in civil Supreme Court.
Understood.
What's the timing on the, once the application is submitted or the renewal, that they are going to get a response? I don't see anything in here about that.
Oh, it's immediate. I mean, we just, as long as we have everything, we either tell them that it's not complete or that's not, are you talking about for the complaint or the public safety or the actual license itself?
Just the licenses, it says that you receive it and then you'll notify the applicant of a denial.
Normally, we just issue the license. If they don't get the license, if there's something wrong, then we have a form letter that we send them. Yeah, and then they can appeal.
A lot of times it's just because they have the wrong proof of insurance
Most people don't really, we haven't had any real denials. It's just been, hey, you gotta come back. You're missing these things, and they just go, oh, all right, and they go away and they come back with whatever it was. So it's not so like.
Even when there is a denial, they usually will hire counsel, appeal, and then say, we'd like to withdraw and resubmit.
So then next section that has an underline is on the bottom of page 7. Again, we used to go to the license review board, and then in this last code it was changed to Public Safety Commission. But the truth is, somebody doesn't need to go to a board to determine jurisdiction. Like, we can administratively determine jurisdiction, whether or not it's under the county's jurisdiction or ours. It's very simple.
Well, this is holding people up in that construction litigation.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, we're waiting for a board determination, when clearly the board doesn't have jurisdiction because that person is not licensed. So that's as quick as somebody pulling up our system and saying, we don't have a license for them. They get a non-jurisdiction letter, and then they're going to take that piece of paper and go to court and use that in their litigation. There's no reason that we need to hold them up a whole business quarter for that form letter.
Yeah, it takes 3, with the Public Safety Commission only meets 4 times a year. So that's just, we could do the jurisdiction, suspension or revocation. This is a new section that we're saying. It used to just be like, oh, you did, someone came complaining, let's say, you were found to be, that be warranted. The only option was to say your license was revoked for 1 year.
Right.
Sometimes the board, it's my understanding, it's not necessarily egregious, but they want to do something. So they could do a suspension. We added here power to suspend for up to 6 months. So they could say, do that. And then when it, sort of progressively gets, if it were worse, then they could revoke. Like, it seems sometimes too punitive to revoke someone's license for 1 year. Yet they don't want to make no decision and say, like it's either all or nothing. I mean, they need something in the middle, is with the message we've received.
They've also asked, which we didn't put in here, but they've asked for the ability to just issue an admonishment, like a written warning. I don't know if you want to codify that or just as a matter of policy, allow them to do that. But that would be, where something really doesn't rise to the level of a suspension, but they're not happy with the contractor. Just putting them on notice, hey, this is not the right thing to do.
What does that do legally, though?
Nothing.
That's why it's not in the code.
But what is it that you would say you don't have jurisdiction? What kind of complaint would you say you don't have that?
They're
authority?
unlicensed.
We don't have the jurisdiction for a complaint on a license that someone doesn't have.
we as the town still do, right? Code enforcement is going to write them for no license.
Yeah.
But this board doesn't.
But the licensing, the Public Safety Commission doesn't have jurisdiction to hear a matter on a licensed individual if there's no licensed individual. That's what jurisdiction is all about. Or it could also be, this is a Suffolk County matter. And they go, and we send a letter, so we get letters from Suffolk County
Right.
being like, this
Wrong
is in our
venue.
jurisdiction, this is in your
Or if
jurisdiction.
it's a state license
And we do the
plumber or
same, we send it
electrician.
back.
So the contractor has no license, the electrician or the plumber or whatever. And so the town goes after them. Who
The town just issues them a violation for working without a license. It doesn't come under any of this part about,
So that's a justice court charge.
Yeah,
So a building
that's
inspector or code enforcement official is gonna issue a charge. It's returnable to court and the judge will fine them accordingly, within whatever range we had set in that section of the code.
it's really important that people don't hire contractors who are unlicensed in this town. And that's what we really want to get to the part where we have it on our website. We do have it now. You can look up a name. You can see if it's expired. You can see if someone's current. It'll say active or expired. So that way someone can look in real time before they make a decision on a
Trying to
contractor.
figure out if it's, if it's not really beneficial for us, a contractor to come in at someone that not to have a contract, he'll just pay the fine until he gets caught again.
Well, as we talked about last night, we can charge them daily. So none of these projects are one-day projects.
Yeah.
These are job sites, home renovations.
That's what I was getting at.
Right.
What about, so I know the county licenses them too. What happens if they have a county license but they don't have, I mean, I know this, I think we brought this up before, but.
So we use the county license as a form of proof to apply for this license, but other than that, it really doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't broadly cover them.
Well, no, because we can't affect, as a licensing entity, we don't have jurisdiction to make a determination on the Suffolk County license or any other license for that matter.
Why though? If the county is
Because
saying.
they're the issuing entity.
So you kind of have
But-
jurisdiction over the thing that you're,
I understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, but what I was trying to find out is if the county is approving a license
Mhm.
countywide, why do they have to seek a town license?
We have an independent jurisdiction, the 5 East End towns do.
Right.
So they are not covered by Suffolk County Consumer Affairs. Their license is not effective in the 5 East End towns.
Regionally, it's confusing.
It is.
I've spoken to contractors that have said that, why do I need also a town
Right.
license when I'm already covered by the county?
they're not really covered by the county. I think that's the answer.
Right.
Is that true? The county consumer affairs doesn't cover.
Does not have East End jurisdiction.
That's
The
not a
commissioner
reason
of
for
consumer
becoming county.
affairs used to live in Southampton. Pretty-
So if someone complains about a contractor who's unlicensed, that's when you look at it under letter B and say, we don't have jurisdiction, and we send it to code enforcement. But if you do have the jurisdiction, then this is then the commission reviews the facts and has a hearing.
Correct. And then they have the power to, we're saying suspend for up to 6 months or revoke for 1 year. That's their penalty. The penalty they can, other than fines, that's the result,
Yes, they-
is to
That's
take
the-
away the
they
license.
do,
And then you're
yeah.
working without a license and you're
That
again
has
subject to
jurisdiction.
code
here.
enforcement.
Does a
Can
contractor, when he
create an
subs
IMA
out to
to
another
create jurisdiction
subcontractor,
for them.
does the subcontractor need a license?
Everybody working needs a license.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think a lot of people don't realize that.
We're also,
The only thing, this is only home improvement contractors, so this is not applying to commercial sites, this is not applying to new construction.
Okay, new construction is different.
Outside of the realm of this, it's not home improvement, it's new construction.
So the contractor for new construction, when he hires a sub, they don't need a contractor's license then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, so the rest is just very simple, changes related to what the suspension or revocation matters would be before that board. And also we added a thing where, they have to pay an in violation fee
we thought about it, and it is possible that someone would just apply for a new license with a new business entity. And then what? You know, so we said any new license requested by the entity with the same principal that the license was revoked from, they still have to pay an in violation fee, even though they're starting over.
So if it's an LLC, you look into who owns the LLC, and if it's the same name, then they won't get the license.
They'll get the license,
but
but
they'll pay
they'll
an
have to pay an
in-violation
in violation fee. Yeah.
If it's that same principal member.
I mean, it is a lot to go through to go back and start all over with a new LLC. So hopefully they will take it seriously and
Right.
not get suspended or revoked. So back to Sean's point, I don't know if you want to add anything to A about warnings. That's up to you. Or they can just do that as a matter of
Policy matter.
policy.
I guess you could just add, shall have the power to issue
Issue
written
warning,
warnings,
yeah.
comma, suspend, or if you want,
Okay.
I mean, it depends. If it's just they forgot to post their thing, but they have it,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
just
no
a
harm, no
warning,
foul
right?
kind of thing.
Okay. We can add that.
So can I ask, how broad is that license? I mean, if you're a guy with 2 trucks or you have 25 trucks, that license covers the whole business,
Yes.
everybody that works for them?
You have to have vehicle IDs for it. We have to get.
There is one for each truck?
There's one for every
Okay.
truck, and they have to tell us how many trucks in their fleet.
Okay.
And we issue and they're all working under that same license.
Even if they simulate like a subcontractor, let's just say you do the interior, but you have 5 of your guys doing landscaping, that's still under the same umbrella?
I don't think so.
No, the sub is going to need their own insurance. The whole point of this is insurance, ensuring that there is insurance for a homeowner to claim against if something goes wrong.
Wouldn't they already have that though? If they were already, the contractor was licensed by the county?
You're assuming that they get licensed by the county.
Right.
Not everybody who goes to the county get the license. They just may do work on the East End and only get it through the East End towns. They don't always go to the county.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not
And
necessarily.
the county's not going to take action against their licensed contractor performing work on the East End.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. That
So
makes
they
sense.
get the county license when they're working, let's say in Babylon or something, and they get the,
Understood.
Southampton license when
Right.
they're here. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it lists under A in the beginning all the different various home improvements that you can be doing, and that requires a license. So I would
and
think,
that's again because the
Yes.
insurance
So
out
you-
here, you power wash a house and damage some mortar, you might be doing $1 million damage on a house. These houses are higher value homes, and
Breaking a window, something, water
Right.
leaks.
any other questions?
I have a question about letter D on page 8. You say you may indicate that the license has been revoked on the website, but shouldn't we,
You want it shall?
I think we should, because what if, aren't people looking at that to see if anybody's been?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep, and the rest is just more housekeeping, changing the name, crossing out licensing review board over and over, adding either, and then there's some cooperative agreement with the village. We've been meeting to go over like those agreements, as far as getting licensing through the town, for the villages, so we have those to finish out.
yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that our code was matching what we're trying to work out with the villages.
Well,
that
and you have to really consider, is that something you still want to do? Because in a practical sense, it makes the town kind of the bad guy. It's like, oh, we'll send you to the town, we'll suspend you, and you can deal with the town. For something we're really not involved in otherwise. So,
But the problem is that most contractors that work in the town also work in the villages.
right, for a matter of, efficacy, you don't want people to have to get 7 different licenses.
No, and I also think you don't want, if we have somebody in the town that we have revoked their license, they shouldn't be able to work in any of the villages in the town either,
Right.
so.
So
I
we just
agree.
need to really
That's
lock
good.
these down with IMAs if we're gonna continue this. And, the villages need to understand this board is going to do what it's going to do. It's not necessarily what they'd like. to happen.
When
It's
I've
what
when
the
I've
board's gonna
talked to
hear
some of
based
them,
on
they
facts.
haven't really had an issue with, you know,
Do villages already license also? So
No,
they
they
don't do
send
it anyway.
contractors to us to be licensed, yeah, and we need in IMAs updated with all the villages that wanna participate with us.
Right.
That's the end goal, is for you to enter into intermunicipal agreements where they, just like the electrical inspections, very similar. Instead, it would be they're agreeing to follow our licensing procedures and send people, oh no, you gotta be licensed, you know, their code enforcement would cite people for not being licensed. But that's about it. Everything else happens through us.
So if somebody in a village has a complaint against a contractor, they'd bring it to the town's public safety commission.
Right.
Yep.
But there have been miscommunications where villages have sent new construction, for example, and we're issuing a non-jurisdiction letter. They need to know that that's a possibility, that we're not just going to take in whatever the village sends us. If there's non-jurisdiction, there's non-jurisdiction.
What is that? What do you mean? I'm not
So we've had
following.
them refer new construction matters to the licensing review board.
Meaning a violation of,
So meaning
Licensing?
it's not home improvement contractor, it's a new house.
I thought that's
somebody
separate
built.
though from
It
this.
is. But
It's
the
not,
villages
yeah, it's not covered under this.
sometimes have not been happy with that answer, that our law is not covering new construction.
I think it has to just be clear in the IMA.
Yeah.
That that's what it is. That's what they're agreeing to. It's home improvement contractor, not new home
Not new home
construction.
builder. And we can regulate that in the future if the board's inclined, but we need a different code section. That's a
so if
different
somebody
animal.
can just go in and build a home, but we're only regulating repairs and renovations?
yeah, but
Additions
sense,
and all
yes.
those things.
But most of those contractors end up getting a license anyway, because let's face it, if you're building a home, you're doing repairs to homes too. So they're gonna need it somewhere down the line, so most of them just get it anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, the majority are.
Like if you're a painter and you're painting a new house, you're obviously also painting existing homes, so you need a license, not for the new construction, but you need a license for the,
Yeah, I agree. It's just,
they all kind of cross over.
I'm just noticing here where it says Article 3, plumbing and electrical contractors registration certificate, that should be crossed out. Because we don't require that right there.
Isn't that already crossed out? Oh. That should be crossed out.
That should just be crossed out.
I need you to get you a red pen so you can see your changes.
And then just identifiable, the vehicle thing. If you have a contractor, like your thing says Acme, whatever, and you have a license number on there, then you're good. If you don't, then you have to have either a sticker or it says, or other approved identifiable feature, just so that we're covered in case some new awesome technology comes along that we can.
But we also may allow them to, like, we had conversations about sometimes you've got a rental vehicle on a job site and you can't put a sticker on it, so
Yeah,
you can put a piece of paper and that has your license number and your business name.
It says a town issued
Yeah.
copy. So we'll have we have colored paper that we use, so that's
This is to encourage
identifiable
people
for
to mark
code
their
enforcement.
So if it's an unmarked vehicle, they have to have some evidence.
And it was also as a response to, there were some contractors that had brought it to the Trade Advisory Committee that getting stickers for every vehicle every year was kind of tedious, and they were like, why do I need a sticker if you know that I'm licensed and my name is on my truck? And it is kind of redundant, and it saves us money to not have to print those stickers.
Right. We would like to add a fee for the stickers if we could. We are getting the data for how much it costs us as an operating expense.
Which that would be in the fee schedule when we.
Yeah, we would add that in the budget, just so you're aware.
But you're saying they can just get a copy of the license and stick it on the
Many
dashboard?
People want the stickers, believe it or not. They hound us. When can I get my stickers? And we're like, well, you can use this paper. I don't want the paper.
Yeah, the sticker's
Believe
a
it or
lot
not, They
safer.
want the sticker.
They put the
Well,
paper,
because guys lose
it
the papers.
disappears, they got the book over the paper.
They want the sticker.
Spill coffee on the paper.
Yeah, so, we'll charge like a nominal $5 per sticker or something,
So that if guys are
Anything
showing up,
Like with your license, in other words, excuse me. With your license, you get so many stickers, but if you have a fleet of 50, then it's extra, right? So I'm just saying like the first, few come with it, you're at regular fee. And then if you're asking us for 50 more stickers, we get to charge for that. I would just put that in there.
So the contractors hand up to all their employees that are gonna come in their private
Yeah,
vehicles?
I don't know what they do. They put them in their fleet. They give us the list. We get a list of all the trucks to verify they're all part of the business. We don't just give them for private vehicles.
Well, some of them frankly like the stickers because they have every jurisdiction on their window or their door, and they're saying we work everywhere. And they'll have, 10 municipalities stickers lined up on their door.
Kind of like beach permits.
Yeah, it's like a beach sticker.
I need one.
But if it has the name of the company, then code enforcement would just have to run it and see if it shows up.
It's just literally like the trustee sticker. We got the same exact machine, same.
No, but I mean, if
stickers.
the vehicle already has the name of the company on it, you don't
They
need
don't
one.
have to, yeah. But I have to say, they want them anyway.
Be safe.
I can't tell you how many emails I get about these stickers. I don't know why they're so important, but they are. So we just had to order like all these extra rolls of stickers, which cost money, so. So that's that. So if we can just publish this and make these changes, and then, in maybe another year, we'll probably be back and see how it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we think about whether you have different requirements for renewals versus initial. Maybe you want the same documentation. Maybe you want them to give you evidence that there's been no convictions of crime upon a renewal. I don't know. But if it's different standards,
Okay, I'll find out for sure if we're asking for something different, or they just go, here's my renewal fee, and they just pay a fee. And then I'm
then
not
if they
sure.
could just keep doing it year after year, and then there
Or
could be something that happened and we wouldn't know about it.
Didn't we
It
talk
does
about
say-
having
it
them
says for-
submit, because we went from 2-year permits back to a year, right? So didn't we talk about saying like at the 1-year mark, you just pay your fee, but then every 2 years you have to resubmit your paperwork?
Yeah, so we have been doing this.
Only
on a
when it's dormant we
2-year
had.
basis, and the state law said to do that on a 1-year basis. So
Yeah, but that's what I mean, like if we're relicensing every year, maybe because we were doing it for 2 years, so maybe on that second year, we just collect your money for the renewal, and then every 2 years, you have to submit the whole packet again, like you did.
We could do that
arrange
can make that more clear here. So we'll say that. That sounds.
Because that's fair,
good.
because then because we never made everybody, it was a 2-year license, now it can't be, but you only had to submit your whole packet every 2 years.
Okay. So I will fix 143.7A to kind of say that. That sounds good to everyone?
Yeah. So,
Great.
wait.
Thank you.
So, yeah, 143-4, you gotta change too, because that's where it says if it's for more than 2 years.
Dormant.
Oh, no, dormant, yeah, so it's not just dormant, it's if you
But,
have
like,
it,
let's say
every
you-
2 years, they have to do a full renewal.
Right, but especially if it's been, maybe it shouldn't say dormant for 2 years or greater, it should say,
expired, or not.
Just every 2 years.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll work it.
well, yeah, we'll fix it.
Yeah, thanks for the
You
cleanup.
missed your renewal, and it's now been a year.
Here
I
it
think.
says licenses may be renewed annually unless an issued license has been expired or dormant for a period of 2 years or greater, in which case a new license shall be applied for with all required documentation.
But if we're requiring the documentation every 2 years anyway, you don't even need that, because it's kind of redundant.
It would be.
You're just saying regardless, every
This is
2
about,
years.
like the dormancy thing. Then in 143.7, it says applicants for licenses or renewals shall complete an online application. The applicant or shall attest their identity, blah, blah, blah. So this is the part where we would then say
Yeah, this makes more sense if the fees are different.
annually, we'll just make it clear and I can
But
fix this
the-
dormant thing.
Yeah, the dormant thing is because if we don't fix it, that means that every year they can just keep renewing for the
Yeah,
renewal
we'll
fee.
fix this. We can take that out and we'll just put it all under 143.7, which is application requirements. Sound good?
Work it out.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's always good to look back and,
Well, you find out all the
yeah,
things as
you
go
live it
through
for a while, right?
And then, when would you like this to proceed forward, and who would like to sponsor?
I'll sponsor it again.
At what meeting you thinking?
Well, whenever it's ready.
Yeah, I'll co-sponsor it too.
You can throw me on there too.
Put everybody.
Everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll notice the public hearing.
This is chapter 143, so you don't need a month out. You can do it 2 weeks out.
That's okay if you notice it on the 10th for the
You can do it
24th.
for the 24th. Yep,
But just, if you don't mind, just give us the changes ahead of time.
absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Great, thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
See you guys again.
Oh, we lost Janice. All right, well, that brings us to our town council and supervisor liaison updates. Where did we start? I think we started with Rick last time. You want to get us started? Cindy?
I had a lot last time. I don't have very much this time. It was just a very reflective Memorial Day weekend. Councilman Martell and I attended the East Quogue Memorial Service and Parade on was it Sunday, Rick?
Saturday, what?
Sunday.
Sunday.
I have to say, it was a phenomenal job by the East Quogue Elementary School Marching Band. People thought that they were a high school band. They were phenomenal. They had some of the younger students actually playing taps, which is not an easy feat. And then on Monday, Councilman Martell, Councilman Isilli, and I attended the Hampton Bays American Legion ceremony, which was a very nice ceremony, attended by the Hampton Bays Fire Department and the Boy Scouts and a whole bunch of other groups. So it was a great day.
Oh, good. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, so attended the unveiling of the new Long Beach fitness station yesterday with you supervisor, Councilman Martell and Councilwoman McNamara, and it was also attended by the Noyak Civic, which played an immense role in helping move that forward, along with then Councilman Tommy John Scavone. So it was great to see all the work that the Dog Patch Bandits really helped to usher in this great addition to Long Beach.
It's such a beautiful location.
Great location, and you know, it'll be certainly well utilized. It was also great attending the Hampton Bays American Legion Memorial Day event with my colleagues, as mentioned. Battle of the Bands is going to be on June 6th, just so everybody knows. The Youth Bureau is putting this all together. There's going to be some great music, some great fun for the family.
Will you be judging this
I
year?
will be judging June 6th at 7 at Punk Beach. I recommend everybody come on out.
Excuse me, Michael. You gotta push the button.
Oh,
Oh, no.
that's okay. No, I think they probably picked most of it up, right, Kevin? Did you hear most of my stuff?
Yeah, we heard most of it.
Thank you. Thank you for that, though. I also joined Councilman Pell just the other day, along with Tom Houghton and our co-chairs of the Sustainability Committee, Lynn Arthur and Mark McIntyre. We just discussed some sustainability initiatives. I'm sure Councilman Pell will elaborate more on some of that. And just a reminder that the Noyak Civic Fundraiser is going to be Saturday, May 31st at 5:30 at Union Burger Bar. Certainly, if you have some time to get out there to have a burger with them, that would be great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. Let's see, I similarly went to the Memorial Day event. It was on Monday at the West Hampton Cemetery. It was very meaningful, and the high school band was there, and the fire department, and it was special being with everyone. And let's see, I met with the audit committee because we're going to have the budget coming up soon. They're going to come in and present to us in a couple of weeks, Naraki Smith, about, you know, how they feel about our audit, which was very good, by the way, just a heads up. Everything's fine. Last night I had an EMS advisory committee meeting, and we talked about how we can improve communication for the ambulance departments, and also about some upcoming festivals that they'd like to get looped in on. So I think the police department will help coordinate with them and the US Open people, and we'll make sure everything's ready for that one, of course, and the Palm Tree Festival too. That's all. Thanks. What about you, Bill?
Last night, myself and Councilman Rick Martell, we attended Hampton Bays. It's always a good group of people there. They're always very welcome. They have a lot of questions. We showed them the Bel Air plan, the park plan, and I had to ask Rick when he got elected to be on, because he's from Hampton Bays. He actually started years ago on this project to finish up with us on the whole board, and we had a lot of comments. Afterwards, a lot of people came up and said they would really enjoy it and they look forward to be there. And I only had one person said that they wanted to change it. Of course, we always need that one person because he might have a good idea.
Overall, though, positive
Overall
response?
positive.
Good.
I have the pictures to show the board in exec session. And Janice was there, and Dan and Matt from McLean who drew it. Scott Howitz, the president of the trustees, were there because the two properties joined together, and the park's going to interlock with the trustees' property to make it a very nice neighborhood area. The kayak, they were worried that there was not going to be enough kayak racks, which is a good sign, and the trustees' property could hold a lot of kayak racks for the neighborhood. And overall, it was a very good evening there.
Oh, good. Thank you for doing
And
that.
then, like Michael was saying, we did meet with Tom and Mark and Lynn, and to talk about the future of the transfer station to make it more user-friendly. I mentioned at the meeting that we're buying some trailers so we can start recycling mattresses, and we're looking to recycle pallets to get them off the side of the street, the boat wraps, the white boat wraps, and what they wrap furniture is a big nuisance in the springtime. We're looking to recycle them, and that would hopefully be free so we can get them out of the green bags and into our recycle program. And plus the glass and the cardboard, we
What
have
do you mean furniture wrapping?
some of these houses, they wrap their furniture instead because they can't put it inside, so they have a wrapping company coming to shrink wrap it.
Oh, the shrink wrap, yeah.
Yes, and same thing, we can take bubble wrap. There's all types of, I don't have the breakdown, but Tom will give us the breakdown when we present it at the town board work session in a month or two. But that's what we're working on
Good, very
for the
good.
future.
Thank you. Rick?
So it's tough going last, but
I know.
truth is, so last night's civic meeting was special, I think. The whole Bel Air presentation was taken to heart. People have been looking for this for many years now. I got a few emails this morning about how it must feel good. That's something the public wanted. We finally did.
Finally.
But it was very well received. I think Bill, having been a former trustee, is a big asset on this because the fact that the trustee property will be incorporated into the design at one point kind of puts the community at ease with the parking situation that we have next to the station bar and so on. They did want to know why only 6 or 7 parking places, and we do want to pass a park. We don't expect bus loads of people. We expect it to be a nice, natural vegetation and native plants, and people, asked about that. And were we going to be planting any more trees? And like Bill said that, a lot of this we're going to take this in stages. So if something else is needed, we'll be happy to do that. But, at the same time, after we got off and we did the nice presentation, Ryan and Sean got up, and it was all about code enforcement for the last hour and a half. Ryan always does a great job. I mean, he's very clear. Sean was there to give the legal side of it, to really explain what happens when a violation is given and so on. And I think a lot of people got clarity. There were still a couple of people that need to talk to Ryan directly. And again, it's usually what they see over their fence as opposed to what Ryan can see from the road. So there has to be some clarity on affidavits that they can write and so on, and sign off for them to be on their property. But I think it was very informative. There was very, very little feedback for the large group that they had last night. So it was a nice night.
Good.
I have one more other thing.
Oh, please tell us.
Thank
you, Rick.
The last speaker last night said something that really meant a lot to me. He said that he was very glad to see 2 different parties work together on a town board and get a project done and finish it up for the whole town board. And that's what the people want to see. They want to see, us working together, not fighting, not arguing, not bashing each other, and working together. And this is, the Bel Air is, a good project. We all worked on it. Rick came on, he helped on it. He had an idea about changing the parking because we were trying to figure out what's that, because we didn't really like the parking. And that's, it's something good to do. And the people saw that last night, that we sat together, we presented together, and we had a good time.
Well, that's what we're here to do, and we've done some good things already. I mean, just look around the room with the photos of the different projects, and there's so many more to come, and the West Hampton Community Center's coming along.
And it's a good scene, it's a good thing because we're not packing the room, because if we're packing the room, that means we have trouble.
All right, anybody else? It's good. I'll say I'm having hip replacement surgery tomorrow, but my plan is, I have no idea what it's gonna be like, but my plan is to attend our meetings remotely for a couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
I thought we were gonna come up to have the meeting at your house.
Oh, well, that's a possibility. Bedside meeting. Anyway, thanks, everyone. Now we're gonna go into executive session to discuss personnel and acquisitions and then close. I move to do that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.